good morning. It's Friday morning, which is our favorite day, right? Actually, Monday is my favorite day because it's the start of the week and there's so much work to do. I hate Fridays because sometimes you come to the end and you're saying to yourself, "My gosh, there's things to do," and you know, and you know, you don't want to be thinking about resting when you're with a crew like this that's going to be doing amazing things. It's Friday. We're at Buddybrew. We're talking startups. We're talking EDI2. If you want to learn more, go pound EDI2, and you can find out all you've ever wanted to know about this wonderful program. We got some folks here who are going to be giving you some updates. The actual person who helped create this program. We got an actual live board member who has been instrumental in giving out money. We got real live applicants, people who actually came up with the idea, helped us create the idea, and then actually applied for, and I might have even received some money.
Yeah.
This wonderful program.
Eventually we will.
We've got watchdogs, media watchdogs sitting at this table who have a great editorial in today's Tampa Tribune, talking about making sure that when you do these programs, you do them with integrity, and that there's always a lot of sunshine involved, so we can see what's going on. And we got two students from the university, one's from the USF, one's from University of Tampa, who have both done amazing things, continue to do great things. They're going to contribute to our community, and we got Ken Evans, who's just a general wonderful guy. You know, we have him here, you know, the Hollywood look. He's got the glasses up there. People love to talk to Ken. So I'm going to kind of go around the table. Everyone can introduce themselves, and then I'm going to ask Stephanie to kind of tell us what we were able to accomplish 2 weeks ago with our first board meeting involving EDI2, and over $300,000 that were awarded to entities that are involved in promoting one of the most important economic programs, I think, in America right now, which is to help startups. You know, a lot of money has been given to old existing companies, and to the, money has gone in sums we can't even imagine to the financial industry. But if we're going to create real jobs in America, and we just had our jobs report, 169,000 jobs created in the last month. But if we're going to have an explosion in job creation, we got to be working with the entrepreneurs who are on the ground, who are actually doing the grunt work every day, who remind us constantly that it's not the job of government to create jobs. They're the ones creating it, but we need to work with them, give them oxygen, and feed them and help them, and that's what we're trying to do. Scott, why don't you go ahead and just start tell us who you are, and we'll kind of go around the table, and then we'll let Stephanie talk about EDI2.
My name is Scott Weil, from the University of South Florida, basically doing my bachelor's right now in geography, going to my master's in urban planning and regional design. Helping Commissioner Mark here get some transportation up on the ground here in Tampa. Hopefully that'll come true.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Scott. Good job. Yeah.
I am Ken Evans. I'm a strategy consultant, but also a tech advocate and economic development watchdog, as the commissioner likes to say.
I'm Dan Krasner. I'm Executive Director of the Independent Government Watchdog Group and Research Institute, Integrity, Florida. Also an economic development watchdog. We've published several reports on Enterprise Florida, the state's economic development agency, seeking better results, more accountability and transparency. We're highly encouraged by what's happening here with Commissioner Sharp in Hillsborough County, supporting startups, entrepreneurs, going in a better direction for economic development.
Thank you, Dan. We're honored to have you here, sir.
Hi, my name is Phil Michaels. I'm a University of Tampa MBA student studying social entrepreneurship, and we started a social enterprise, Ambrosia Global, working with emerging markets.
And I'm Joy Randalls. I'm a founder and serial entrepreneur, angel investor, and generally Mark's pain in the butt.
A positive one.
It's my job.
Yeah. Go ahead, Stephanie.
I'm Stephanie Savetitek. I'm the Economic Development Manager with Hillsborough County Economic Development.
Hi, I'm Bob Francis. I'm a business consultant, entrepreneur, and serve as a mentor to a number of businesses here through either USF Connect or First Wave, and a member of the EDI2 committee for Hillsborough County.
So Stephanie, tell us about the EDI2 program. You're the Economic Development Department. Tell us what the program is and what it's done.
The EDI2 program is actually the Economic Development Innovation Initiative that was passed finally in June of this year. It's very exciting. It is a $2 million program that is to support the entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation ecosystem here in Hillsborough County. We are not directly funding companies, we're not directly funding individuals, but we're funding organizations who are bringing community together to support these startups and technology innovation here in Hillsborough County, and it's very exciting. Our 5-member advisory committee, which is made up of just very seasoned, wonderful individuals, we're joined by one today, met for the first time on August the 20th. We received there were 26 applications that went before the advisory committee. 23 received funding. And I think the thing that's so exciting, Commissioner, is, when we look at so many of these organizations, so many of these events, it's things that are happening here in our community. Within the next several months, the amount of just the number of events that are happening just within a short amount of time. It's just very exciting to see that that's already happening, and to see that what can this program do to just elevate that. I think that that's just going to be a really exciting thing to see here over the next 2 years.
Well, I know it drives the Economic Development Department crazy every time Inc. or Entrepreneur Magazine or one of the other entities which tracks the startup community will give you their best 5 for startups, and you see these cities from around the country which always have their name there in the top 5, top 10, and you read what they're doing and it's exciting, but then you see the things that we're doing here, and I think part of the issue is just folks just don't know what's going on. And as Joy will oftentimes remind me, many of those who are really your entrepreneurs are the ones that you just don't see because they're working. They're busting their tail somewhere, hidden. They're not out looking for attention. They're really not out looking for anyone else's money. They're just trying to come up with a really cool product. And so, I like the fact that this program is going to give some oxygen and air to a very important, I think one of the most important economic development activities that we can be involved in, and I'm really proud of it. And I'm also eager to let Bob, who is a board member, kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, Bob, why you're on this board and what you think the value is of this program, the EDI2 program.
Well, thanks, Sean. I'm on the board because I want to be.
That's a good reason.
I've been in and around the Tampa Bay area for more than 40 years. And I'm constantly amazed at the quality of individuals who are starting businesses here, and frankly didn't know about it. I chose to volunteer at USF and at First Wave, and it's opened my eyes to what we really have as a resource in the community that we are not taking advantage of. And so I got really excited about the EDI2 initiative, and deliberately wanted to come in and see if I can help make it a success. My background is starting businesses. I left the corporate world 20 years ago to start as a business consultant, and I jokingly say for the past 20 years I have not had a W-2. But I've started more than 25 different companies or done projects to turn them around, etc. That's what I enjoy doing. And this is fertile ground in Tampa.
All right. Well, okay, fertile ground. Joy. We're looking at the job reports came out, and they were talking about 169,000 jobs created across the country. I'm curious to see the breakdown, how many of those jobs are the type of jobs that you can actually raise a family on, survive on. I don't want to be critical of any job because we want to create jobs, but Bob was talking about helping start 25 companies or participating in 25 companies. What could we do in our community of Tampa Bay to create more jobs so that the job report would even get higher? I mean, is there something that could be done or that is being done now that would kind of light a fire, an entrepreneurial fire, and help us create even more jobs? Because the numbers, there's still some concern that it's just not enough jobs when you look at all the jobs that were lost in this last recession.
Well, I think that it's not enough jobs, first and foremost, and I think that the jobs report there's some falsities in the jobs report because it doesn't take into account all the people who never went back to work, right? It also doesn't take into account all the people who are now just freelancers that are out there and they've dropped off unemployment. So those numbers are not reflected in the jobs report, which makes it rather, unfair when you look at them saying, oh, look how great it is, because it's still not that great. And if you look at spending in corporate America and all the other things, you would know that it's not that great. I think that, to Bob's point, being fertile ground, I live here because I chose to live here. I've worked in tech startup hubs all over the world. I've lived in other places, but I made a decision to move here in 2000 because I wanted to live here. And I think a lot of people do want to live here, want to stay here. I think that, we have young people that want to stay here, and, come on. He came from Jersey, he's down here. I'm from the other side. And, it's not that far, but it's very different in Jersey because we have a lot of clients up there. I think, to me, we focus a lot in our region on creating service jobs, and we have to change that mentality. So I'm a big advocate of how transportation can help attract more high-wage jobs and create more urban density. And if we want to be a future economy, we have to create urban density. It's really not an option, and Hillsborough County should actually be ashamed that they're not doing more than what they are in Pinellas County, to be honest. And I think the other thing is if we focus on the builders, so, the Brad Feld, leaders, feeders scenario, right? If we focus on the people who are actually making things, all those service provider jobs come anyway.
Exactly.
They are the byproduct of that. But you're focusing on the jobs that actually do create high-wage jobs. So, and in my mind, you're talking about jobs that are greater than $70,000 a year in base pay. And, I look around and I see other places around the state, like, big props to Jacksonville for the win that they had, for the signaling company that just moved there, that the average job in the organization is going to be almost $90,000 a year. Right? And for a $290,000, incentive from the economic development, the company putting back $100,000 into the economy, so literally $190,000 for 60 some odd of those jobs, that was a great win for them. And I think we need to focus on things like that. For them to get it and us not to get it, if you look at our airport and our port being here, that's kind of foolish. So.
Well, there's a lot of competition going on in trying. We've been competing from everything from Amazon. And that's not and that's exactly what some folks say we shouldn't be trying to necessarily track. At the same time, I'm eager and excited to have a company like Amazon, which is a retail disruptor, putting one of their distribution centers, we hope, in Tampa Bay. It will create a number of jobs. But, we look at the old economic development program, which oftentimes is looking at large companies which were situated in a city and they're struggling and they're trying to find ways to save some money and they're shedding jobs, and we'd go and we'd lure them over with a tax break and they'd come here and they'd shed more jobs, but while they were shedding, there would still be a net increase in jobs in Tampa Bay, but across the country you would actually see a reduction. But the focus was always on companies that were finding ways to be more efficient by either outsourcing some of their work and or, again, eliminating jobs. What I love about the startup community is that you're seeing actually new jobs being created. In fact, the Kaufman study was saying that net new jobs over the last decade were not being created by the big, large companies, it was by the small startups. But here's the challenge, and this is where Dan comes in. As you start to work with the startup community, it is evolving, it changes, it shifts. The individuals come and go. And so oftentimes you've got folks that are, who is this person and who are these guys? And you just gave money to somebody who was involved in something really bad, 5 years ago somewhere else. How do you keep track of all that? Or should we try to keep track of that? Should we just basically say, look, we're going to have a program, the dollars are going to be made available, and then, we have everything from the Justice Department and, investigative reporters and such who can look into things, but really, buyer beware, we're going to recognize that some people who probably shouldn't get money are going to get it.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? Because I know that you've been involved in looking at what's going on up at the upper levels, but even at the lower level, there's an issue.
Well, certainly in the economic development world, there needs to be better vetting by Enterprise Florida and our economic development agencies across the state. In Miami-Dade, a convicted cocaine trafficker received an incentive deal. There have been several companies in the last few years that have gone bankrupt right after receiving incentive deals. In Brevard County, a CEO was just arrested on political corruption charges, having received an economic development incentive deal there. So the vetting process has to be stronger. It's starting to move in a better direction, but there's more we can do to make sure that.
But who should be doing the vetting?
Well, that should be Enterprise Florida's job, working with local economic development agencies. And one thing that would help would be no more of these secret project code names. If it's time to sign the deal with the company, any company, for anything that government's going to allocate our tax dollars for, reveal the name. In Pinellas County a few weeks ago, they gave a deal to Pods, a good company, but it was an incentive deal, hundreds of thousands of dollars to move their headquarters 4 miles down the street. There might have been some public discussion about that if we knew that it was a company they were wanting to move 4 miles down the street. So let's lose these project code names. I mean, the code names they use: Project Bacon, Project Pineapple, over in Clearwater, Project Poof, and the only poof might be poof. Where did our money go? so more transparency. Let's have some deals make sense, and if we know who the company is and we can talk about it in the sunlight and have public participation in the conversation, the community might say, put our money there. That's a good investment for our community. So let's open up that process. Open budgets, open contracts, open data, open conversations about these deals.
Surprises aren't good. And a lot of these things shouldn't be surprises because we have a great vetting tool available to all of us. It's called Google. And the amount of surprises we have when a simple Google search would have proven that this person may not be someone that they aren't who they say they are. It's very, very simple. I use Google and I use LinkedIn. Without going to any more trouble than that, I can find out if someone has a reasonably vettable history in the business they say that they're in. And if I don't see anything on LinkedIn, I don't see anything on Google, maybe you should look a little bit deeper. But way too often, if someone comes to town and they look like the next best thing, or it's very, very bright and shiny, there's probably a problem there, and you should look. But just do your homework and then figure out if that person is who they say they are. If they have no history, then be careful.
That's Stephanie.
I think it's actually really exciting with the EDI2 program that companies are not being funded until post-event, after they provide the metrics that they submitted to us with their application. And that, I think, is, as stewards of taxpayer dollars, I think that that's a very reasonable process that we hope that these organizations, we understand that they're small and some people need money on the front end, but being that we're not fully funding events, we're assisting in them creating events that are going to bring the community together. It really, I think, says a lot for this program, the integrity of the program, that we are funding post-event based on the metrics, and if the metrics are not provided, then the funding is not going to match what the advisory committee recommended, and I think that really speaks.
Being made available?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the one thing, is you can go, where do you go to find out more about the EDI2 program, or to see who has received money, or to see what they've done once they've received the money? How can you get all that information?
Well, this program, I think, that is imperative to make not only this phase of the program successful, but hopefully the future of entrepreneurship with Hillsborough County in the future successful, is transparency. So if you go on hillsboroughcounty.org/EDI2, you are able to view not only the policy documents for what the program consists of, but you're also able to view all of the applications that the advisory committee reviewed on August the 20th. I don't know how many weeks that was, sorry. The minutes, the draft minutes from the past meeting, and then our next meeting is actually going to be on December the 5th. So in advance of that, we're actually going to put up the applications prior to the meetings, so everybody will be able to view them, because they are public meetings, and we invite the public to come and make comments and give us your thoughts.
Well, I'm glad we're doing it. I mean, when we were talking about this program, and folks were, oftentimes I'm on the receiving end of frustration frustration, and several years back, what the frustration was that we were focusing all of our energy and attention on those high-tech, not the high-tech companies, but companies that have been established, that always get the money, that always get the breaks, that have a lot of capital, and we ought to be looking at our own small startup entity. But there's risks with that, because again, there's always a chance that you're going to have someone or a group that's had some issues in the past. And my sense is that this country was founded upon risk. I mean, if you even look at the guys that came over the Mayflower, if you went down the list, some of those guys were convicts, criminals, had issues. Now, I'm not excusing it in any way, but if you go back and you look at the building of this nation, some of the people who did some of the greatest things were ones who had some checkered past. Kind of how it works. Now, again, that's not an excuse. That is not to say that you give them money. We don't give them tax money. But the point is, that's kind of how our country has been. And so we just got to get the information out there and also not run away from the risk. The one thing I've refused to do since being elected is to say, you know what, if I do it, I could get in trouble, so let's not do it. I don't operate that way. My sense is we weigh the risks, we make sure we understand, and then we go. Because we are, I think, at times a little bit hesitant around here. And finally, we got people here who are doers, and we're actually starting to do some things, and I'm glad about that. Two people that are doing things. Phil, you went to Hong Kong and Haiti? What was going on?
So we were lucky enough to be a part of a global student challenge where we were one of 27 teams to fly to Hong Kong for the challenge. And it was an amazing experience, met students from all over the world competing for a social enterprise competition. And then we planned on traveling to Haiti right after, so I was home in the U.S. for about 2 or 3 days, and the rest of our team and I went to Haiti to see if there's a feasibility for implementing our pilot program there.
Okay, now, your team, are these all students?
UT colleagues, yes.
So
some of us are recent
University
grads, and myself and one other are MBA students there at University of Tampa.
And did you come up from where were you as part of Dr. Rebecca White's program when you came up with this idea?
Yes, she has been a key player in our success, and the university has helped us along the way, and we're hoping that others will be interested in social enterprises and entrepreneurship just as much as we are. And we're really trying to bring notoriety to the community about social enterprises and why it's so important compared to that of nonprofit or a for-profit, maybe a hybrid between the two, which is a social enterprise. And I think you brought up a great point, which is in the past, we've been building upon these larger organizations, which are great as far as actionable metrics, where you will receive your ROI in a timely fashion. And it is a much greater risk to invest or put time and effort into these younger, entrepreneurial-minded companies. But in saying that, it brings more notoriety to the Tampa Bay community, and I think that's what's most important. That's one of the reasons we're so excited to be starting in Tampa.
Well, it just seems to me, and I had a talk, Joy introduced me to a gentleman, Kurt Long, is it Fair Watch?
Fair warning.
Fair warning, excuse me, fair warning. Yeah, and you often give me fair warning about where I'm treading into things that I need. But I was really impressed by Kurt and his message, which was that we need to be doing more to be encouraging young entrepreneurs, not just teaching people how to go work for a company or business, but how to start a company and be the owner of that business. And even though you're going to fail, I mean, when I ran for office, I ran 3 consecutive times and lost 3 consecutive times. Raised a lot of money in the process, learned a lot of things, but didn't win. But it taught me a lot, and I became a better elected official as a result. And so what excites me is that I think we're beginning to see a focus on young entrepreneurs, in the K through 12, but also in college, and helping you guys start businesses. And I know, even though some are going to not make it, at the end of the day, we're going to be better off. Do you agree, George?
No, I do. I think that there's a couple of things. So I think that if you look at why people stay or why students will stay, or why people want to come to an area to work, it has a lot to do with what they're working on. It's even over money and all the other things, right? People want to value what they do. They want to learn, particularly technology. I mean, I think it's about that. And so the more interesting things there are to work on, the more people you're going to retain. And I think that the best companies, in my opinion, and the best companies I've been a part of are companies that have diversity in them, both diversity in ethnic backgrounds, diversity in your work background, diversity in age and experience, because it brings different opinions to the table. And one of the other people I introduced you to, Rob Brady, is actually helping Phil, so I introduced the two of them.
You brought that together.
Right. And,
She's a super connector.
And so, but I'm really excited, and Rob's excited about working with them, so they get to have, someone who's experienced in multiple different types of engineering and industrial design, working with people who have a great idea. So it's really more about, hey, I've got an idea, I've got a plan, but I need somebody to help me execute on the plan, and getting somebody like Rob involved. And I think that's one of the things that we have these people who want to be involved in the different aspects of this. I mean, you've got guys who say, hey, I actively want to do that. I thought the idea was cool, and I'm like, hey, this is great. You can actually make money at an idea that has tremendous social impact. And, a different area of technology than where I'm normally at, but I thought the idea was great, and I think Rob can definitely help you guys execute.
And I think that's a great point you made, is this is such a large company, Rob Brady, and they've worked with Mercedes-Benz and the Navy and the Air Force, and sometimes you have to maybe connect with a student entrepreneur or a younger venture to help bring out that other passion you had. And it seemed to be, when we started talking with them and discussing social entrepreneurship and our enterprise, they became more lively. And this underlying passion that they didn't even know was inside them maybe was rekindled as a fire, ready to grow. And I didn't realize how passionate they were about social entrepreneurship. And so being able to work together, old and new, young and more established, has been a great opportunity. Thanks to you, and Commissioner Sharp has been a key player in that as well. So thank you.
As a social entrepreneur as well, I'm a co-founder of Integrity Florida right out of Tampa Bay, and we're housed in the Capitol now. What's so exciting about EDI2 and what you're doing in Hillsborough County with the hackathons, there seems to be much more of a focus on every business matters, moving away from a model of favoritism and cronyism to a model of let's invest in the infrastructure, in the business climate, let's really develop community here. Let's make this a place where people do want to launch, follow their passion. I mean, I worked for a global company. It was based in Tampa Bay, but my wife and I decided we want to start a family, and we wanted to align our personal and professional missions. And Tampa Bay is a great place. Florida's a great place to do that, and especially when you see a county commissioner and Mark Sharp and Hillsborough County government looking to release. I met with Terry this week. What you're doing with data and innovation here in Hillsborough County government. Hopefully another hackathon maybe in the spring. We'd love to come down. We've talked to the Sunlight Foundation about getting engaged in Florida, in Tampa Bay and around the state to really move towards more. We unlock government data. That's just the startup community will take it and run with it.
Well, that's, and this is so cool. We have 3 or 4 running topics that we could just do an hour on. I want Scott in transportation. Scott's got cool ideas. He's looking at monorails, and we're going to have Jen Sebesta coming here in a couple weeks to talk about what they're doing and some of the ideas he has with transportation. And I'm going to give you a chance, Scott. But this issue of opening up information, for me, when you turn on the lights, and people can look down and see, and everyone has a fair shot at working with the information, there's no telling what can happen. And what I'm finding is some of the most innovative governments, the governments that are really changing and coming up with new ideas and new ways of doing things, are the ones saying, you know what, this information is yours, we're going to let you have it. And when I got here, that was not the attitude. It was very much like, oh, no, we cannot, Commissioner, let that information out until because they wanted to make sure it was accurate. And they wanted to make sure that they knew exactly what they were going to do before they released it. And I understood that, but I'm like, you know what? I trust the people. And I think the people are smart to understand that they can look at that information and they can be good judges of what they're saying, but give them the information, let them work with it. And that's what we're trying to do. I mean, we really want to, on all of our departments, lay it out. And if you got a better way of doing things, tell us. we'll give it a shot. And I hope you'll be part of that.
Absolutely. Well, you're
Covering
already on
it.
a great track to build stronger public trust and support for your program by being so open with the records, as you've described, with moving in this open data direction.
Well, I know you'll be watching us and not giving us any, easy, I mean, she never does. She's always, when the elbow needs to be tossed, she tosses it. And I would ask, but that's what I like. I feel more comfortable in that environment. I don't want to go walking off a cliff and everyone saying, "Oh, this is wonderful. You're on a great path, sir," and then you head right over the edge. You want people in front of you going, "No, stop," or like, "Hey, a big mistake's being made," and you can see it, and then you can at least be aware and have an answer. And that's what you provide.
And mistakes are okay, but even the Harvard Business Review has talked about transparency is the new leadership imperative, and we're seeing it here in Hillsborough County. We'll certainly raise questions when it's appropriate, but we want to be constructive, so use us as a research resource. We're going to be doing some benchmarking in the coming year on open data, doing a case study on Hillsborough County comparing to other communities across the state, and continuing to look at economic development transparency and perhaps at the local government level too. So
I want to thank Joel Lopez for inviting you here. Joel is a good man. Thank you, sir.
And as questions come up, it's one of these things when we say transparency, we're serious. It's not just things posted on a website, but I'll give you my card when we leave, and please call me and email me, and I'd be more than happy to have. Yep.
Well, and the one other cool thing, I was at Middleton High School, and Joy mentioned this issue of diversity and open. What I find interesting is that, if you look back to the history of our country, oftentimes you could go, this is a fantastic country. You can get a good education. You could go to some of the greatest colleges, but oftentimes it was still challenging to break into those big corporate entities that had a stranglehold on the jobs. And in particular, if you look at some of those entities that were involved in the financial markets and institutions. So you had to be you had to be a player. What I love about this tech startup community, these are guys that quit school. Not that I'm encouraging anyone to quit school. Not doing that. But these are people.
Don't tell her that.
Read these little headlines.
Yeah. Sharp says quit school. I'm not.
Journalists.
But what I'm saying is, these are people who sometimes break out of the system and say, you know what? I'm going to play differently, and I'm going to start my own company, and I'm going to compete with you and win. And so you're seeing, within the African American community, the Hispanic community, the Thai community, and there's a lot of events going on. ThaiCon, and I've met with some of those folks and they're trying to get out there and break out. But you've got everyone out there saying, we're going to compete. Now, whether they're going to be successful or not, we'll see. But at least they're out there scrapping and fighting, and they have a chance at one day being a CEO. And I met folks who say, I got a company here, but my employees here are in India, and I'm getting my capital over this way, and you know what? They're in the game. And that's what I think is really cool. They have a shot. You can't stop someone from getting in because you happen to be black, or white, or a woman, or this or that. The door's wide open. What they want are smart people who can sell something. And that's pretty cool. I mean, am I right?
Yeah.
No, you're right. But the economy's changed as a whole. From a global perspective, entrepreneurship has changed and it's global now. It's not something that you're going to do just in one area. And people have, we have to change. That's why economic development and all the other aspects of it have to change. So you left me open for a selfish plug, which is awesome. So we have a couple of things coming up. So Mark mentioned ThaiCon, which is on the 20th. There's also Startup Grind is launching in Tampa on the 26th, and so we'll actually have the opportunity to show people outside of the community all around the world what we're doing right here, and local entrepreneurs, that's like Phil, will be able to come in and meet some seasoned entrepreneurs and get some free advice from those guys.
Which is supported by EDI too.
It is. It is. And
this is big. Startup Grind is big. Thank you, Joy, for going.
It is big, and you're very welcome. I'm looking forward to kind of shining a spotlight on what's going on here. And then organic events like Bar Camp, which is on the 28th. We had almost 1,000 people there last year. It's at USF College of Business, and thank them very much for allowing us to use their facility. Also supported by EDI too. And it's a free event, so all you have to do is go to barcamptampa.org and sign up, and we'll feed you, give you a cool T-shirt, and you can come talk. This year we've got robots, so you talk about Middleton High School. We have 2, potentially 3 robotics teams that'll be there for the whole day, and the kids are actually going to be giving talks
I can't wait. I'm there the whole day.
I know you are.
I am there the whole day. Ken, what do you think?
I think it's great, and I love having this discussion about EDI2 because it was a long time in the making, and it's got the right focus. The focus on having this non-stop buzz of tech events, tech discussions, grassroots. No discussion is too small.
Right.
So, as much as we talk about some of the bigger events that are being co-sponsored by EDI2, it really is about the smaller events, where the county can help meetups. They can help small groupings of either students or entrepreneurs get together and talk about credible tech issues. So it's great to talk about the big checks, but I really am excited about the small checks, the small sponsorships, the small things that are going on every single day without a lot of structure, without a lot of oversight. They're just happening in the community where people can get together and have these good peer-to-peer discussions. And the seasoned people can help mentor the people that are new to it, and the new people that are in the crowd help bring a new perspective to the people that are more seasoned. So this is the type of environment that I have dreamed of having here in Tampa Bay. That isn't all top-down. It's bottoms-up, it's very organic, and it's chaos. Yeah. But chaos is good, because if you look at the other tech hubs, we always have, Valley envy or Austin envy or Seattle envy. They have chaos. They have events happening all the time. They have events that you're going to miss. And that's a good thing, because you want that type of nonstop buzz of people just getting together and doing interesting things. And the fact that the county has stepped up in a very credible way to assist that without getting in the way is a wonderful sign. That is the perfect public-private partnership, in my mind, for this type of support for the tech ecosystem.
And I think that's exactly what the program is all about. We're not here to lead the effort. It's the entrepreneurs and the community that's here to lead the effort. We're here to support the ecosystem and in any even small way that we can, just to try to move us in the right direction. So, and I think that we're getting there.
Absolutely, and that's the fertile ground that I've found here. Just so many things are going on, so many good people trying, and so many good people supporting us.
That's a good way to end. I like it. No, listen, this is an amazing community. We've got so much going for us with a lot of people here who really want to make this community, a great place to live and work. So we just encourage you to come have coffee. The coffee is always hot. It's fabulous at Buddybrew. It's easy to find. If you come here, you'll find Joy, and she'll make sure that she plugs you right in with whoever you need to be plugged in with, or the others. You got mentors. Ken, you mentor all the time. Bob's a mentor. We got lots of mentors. You got government folks. I just saw Philip Hale, who's head of the Heart. He just walked through here. So it's a great place to be. And if you want to make your community better, come here. We got students, like I said, with Scott, and Phil, and others that are just doing some amazing things right here, right now. So come to Tampa Bay, and of course, always check #EDI2 for your latest on what's going on. Thank you.